I'm the Talking Skull, and this year I'm playing classic first-person shooters to draw a line from Wolfenstein 3D to Halo. When people talk about foundational shooters, two games top the list without fail. At the start of this series, we examined Doom. 4 years later, another FPS came along that would go down in history as one of the most influential games of all time. Goldeneye 007. It's hard to overstate how much innovation Goldeneye brought to the table. For the first time, we have clip management with a dedicated reload button. We've also got the first aim-down sights, though it's, they literally made the sniper rifle fully automatic because otherwise you couldn't hit anything with it. On the other hand, precision aim is important because Goldeneye introduced targeted damage. Headshots erase baddies, and shots to limbs and even guns register separately as well. Enemies have multiple detailed animations for each hit location, and bloodstains mark your shots, providing stellar feedback for shot placement. These systems are all fundamental FPS concepts today, and for introducing the world to all of them, Goldeneye is already almost as responsible for the modern FPS as Doom is. Goldeneye also started the idea that different guns don't have to serve different tactical purposes. Extra options that feel different can be fun and make the game more dynamic, even if they're functionally similar. Goldeneye features 2 handguns, 3 assault rifles, and 4 submachine guns. Not because each of these give you discrete benefits, but because bouncing between different guns depending on what you have ammo for, experimenting and figuring out your favorites is satisfying. This design does mean relying on the feel of your weapons to carry your entire weapon system. Luckily, Goldeneye's weapons feel great. I do think Doom's approach provides more dynamic and fulfilling gameplay, but this kind of weapon design is still an important landmark for the genre, and it's the more reasonable option for what amounts to a realistically modern shooter. Oh yeah, Goldeneye is the first realistic modern shooter. While Duke Nukem did have modern cities, Goldeneye was our shooter that presented a detailed modern-day setting with minimal liberties and no aliens, demons, or magic. You're shooting human beings, not monsters, exploring industrial facilities, not the pits of hell. Instead, Goldeneye looks for other ways to make its visuals interesting. Goldeneye absolutely nails the James Bond aesthetic. Technically a movie tie-in game, Goldeneye finds every opportunity to dunk its UI in Bond style, and basically every scene from the film is presented in-game.
Thorough evaluation.
Rare even implements a bunch of James Bond gadgets. All this makes Goldeneye stylish and unique enough to set it apart even today. Of course, no Rare game would be complete without great music. Building from the iconic film score, this soundtrack is one of Rare's best. Goldeneye commits to this aesthetic even in its overall structure. Goldeneye has the most in-depth objective system to date, with every mission requiring you to complete several contextualized goals, and higher difficulties adding even more requirements. Instead of just collecting keys or bashing buttons, in Goldeneye you're sabotaging satellites, meeting covert agents, and disabling alarms. Did I mention this is a stealth game? Much of Goldeneye's campaign revolves around stopping guards from sounding alarms, disabling security cameras, and limiting your noise. Goldeneye's guards have a pretty advanced hearing system for 1997, which meant that for players who understood what was happening and limited their gunfire, Goldeneye demanded and rewarded precision. We also have the return of set pieces. While every level from most other 90s shooters could be boiled down to just another place to shoot things, Goldeneye uses its many subsystems and the film scenes it's adapting to create unique situations that frame each stage in a different way. This isn't just a level about shooting things, it's the scene where you meet with Alec and get ambushed by the villain. This is the level where you have to rescue hostages without getting them executed. So often, Goldeneye gives you moments like this that are more cinematic, more exciting, and more distinct. As neat as all this is, Goldeneye pays a price for innovation. I like the objective system, but it's not always crystal clear what in-game actions fulfill these objectives. This wouldn't be so bad if you could just fiddle around and figure it out, but Goldeneye is very particular about how these stages should play out. If you make one misstep, you can and will fail the mission and have to start all over. Oh, I went through a door that arbitrarily ends the level, even though I'm not done yet. I fail the mission. Oh, I blew up this computer instead of interacting with it because the objectives were unclear. I fail the mission. Later, when they recycled this map, I interacted with the computer because I knew better than to blow it up. Nope, you were supposed to destroy it this time. Instead, James Bond typed run evilplan.exe. You fail the mission. Okay, if I walk any closer, he'll execute Natalia. So I just need to be very careful and— oh, some random mob came up behind me and shot me, which pushed me too close. I fail the mission. Oh, some enemy shot at me, missed, hit the terminal I was supposed to interact with, destroyed it, so I failed the mission. And that's right, every object in the game explodes, including cardboard boxes. Especially cardboard boxes. And every hit you take stuns you, preventing you from shooting or moving until you recover. And remember all those cool stealth systems? They're never really explained or conveyed, so you'll often find yourself losing stealth but not understanding why, and failing missions as a result. A frequent cause of failures throughout Goldeneye is your insufferable companion, Natalia. Natalia is the poster child for how not to handle friendly AI. She's a constant damsel in distress, having to be explicitly rescued 5 separate times, and protected throughout a handful of other levels as well. You have no direct means of keeping her safe aside from moving fast and shooting fast.
Think fast, shoot fast, and kick ass.
So when she dies, it never feels earned. It all culminates in this mission where you have to puppy guard her through an absolute deluge of soldiers who constantly pop up out of nowhere and kill her so fast you can barely react. Goldeneye is riddled with unpredictable failure states, and it keeps the game from flowing or staying as fun as it should be. I played Goldeneye twice to prepare for this video, and the second playthrough is so much better now that you understand what all you're meant to be doing, and how to avoid some of the frustrating pitfalls. For a first playthrough though, you're in for a lot of confusion and frustration. This all feeds into a sweeping issue with difficulty swings. I think because Goldeneye was a film tie-in game, they didn't have the flexibility to rearrange maps if they needed to, like other games of the time would. Instead, if a level turned out to be much more difficult than those before or after it, it just shipped that way. Rare could definitely have done a better job fine-tuning though. It's very common to get some 5-star ultra-hard BS randomly dropped between easy sections. Combined with the arbitrary fail states, it makes Goldeneye's campaign painful. Seriously though, this stage can suck down 80 farts. Hell, they even managed to make this scene so tedious and annoying that it's literally easier to just skip the tank and walk instead. Still, this was the first FPS that let you drive vehicles at all, and there is another tank section that's much more fun. Despite its hiccups and frustrations, Goldeneye stood in stark contrast to any other game of the time. Rare cited Virtua Cop and Mario 64, alongside Doom, as their biggest influences for Goldeneye. Combined with the team's dedication to emulating the Bond films, it really shines a light on the importance of outside influence for bringing something new to the table. When most other shooters were trying to recapture Doom, GoldenEye's competing influences contributed to its unique take on the FPS, and all these innovations make GoldenEye an extremely important game. By far and away, GoldenEye's biggest contribution to the genre was split screen. For the first time ever, friends could gather around and shoot each other in person, huddled together in competitive revelry. Sure, other games had multiplayer, but there's a reason Doom's death matches had a reputation for taking over offices and universities. Those were the only places you could really play them. With no local multiplayer and limited net play, Doom's matches required multiple computers on a LAN in order to work at all. Even Quake, despite its excellent online play, was inaccessible to most players because, frankly, most people in 1997 didn't have internet that could handle it. I don't even like GoldenEye's multiplayer that much. The aiming is awkward and so much of the game is dictated by the auto-aim and the awkward stun and knockback. The simple, claustrophobic maps are just reworked single-player stages, and movement can feel clumsy. Quake, which came out a year earlier, had such good multiplayer that it stands up to this day, and it blows GoldenEye out of the water. But for millions of players in 1997, it didn't matter how good Quake's multiplayer was, cause you couldn't walk to your friend's house, sit down in front of the TV, and play it. GoldenEye was the dawn of a new age. If you're going to play GoldenEye, make sure to set the control scheme to 1.2. The default controls make me feel like I'm 5 feet away, yanking on comically large levers to pilot this James Bond animatronic. The 1.2 control scheme will feel much more natural to most players. Of course, there is another way. Rare knew that the ideal form for a console shooter was dual analog sticks, but shackled to the hesitant N64 controller, they had compromised on their vision. Against all odds, this leaves us with official support for the old 2 players, 1 controller gimmick. 2 players can co-op their way through the campaign, controlling various parts of the same Bond, and it works surprisingly well.
Get him, Sean! Get him, Sean! Oh my god. This is a bonding experience. Oh, fuck.
It's hard to encapsulate everything that makes GoldenEye GoldenEye in 15 minutes. It blew away sales expectations, proved to doubters that shooters could work on console, and shined a light on how the genre could start to break away from Doom. I don't know how much I recommend you play it yourself, because a lot of what separated it from its peers has been replicated in more polished games since. On the other hand, there's still plenty that keeps GoldenEye unique, and it's a fascinating game to experience. If this old stuff is interesting to you, check out the rest of my series on first-person shooters to see what I had to say about Quake and more. And if there's anything you think I should cover, leave a comment so I can see. With GoldenEye's release in August of 1997, the genre's transition to full 3D was nearly complete. Next week, we'll play the last great sprite shooter,